messieurs and mademoiselles, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now, we invite you to relax. Let's pull up a chair as the elementary proudly presents some learning. Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Take your child by the hand, Sherry, and we'll provide the rest. Reading, phonics, fluency, improve skills we guarantee. Try the new stuff, it's stupendous. Don't believe me, ask the students. They can sing, they'll have fun. Reading skills are number one, and the learning here is never second best. Go on, unfold your mind. Take a glance and find you'll be our guest. We are guest, be our guest. Reading cubes, learning play, dice and letters, hip hooray. We'll prepare and learn with flair, a learning cabaret. You're on board and you've shared, but the meeting's all prepared. No one's gloomy or complaining while the teacher's entertaining. We tell jokes, I do tricks.
Guess that's done.
Hello, everyone. My name is Todd Petty, and I am the K-2 elementary principal for Northridge Local Schools. Together with Milton-Union and Bradford Schools, we are so thankful you are spending time with us tonight for this virtual literacy event. Before I hand it over to Lisa Combs, we have a few housekeeping items. Your cameras are turned off and your microphones are muted. This is being recorded and will be posted to each district's website and/or social media for future viewing. We will also have 5 minutes for Q&A with Lisa about the activities she is showing us tonight. You can type your questions in the chat box below. There will be a short survey after the session ends. Please take a couple of minutes to complete that so we can use your feedback as we plan out future virtual literacy events. If you've completed the survey at previous sessions, you do not need to complete the survey again unless you have new feedback to provide. All right, Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back with everyone tonight, and I hope we have lots of folks on this evening. We're going to play a really fun game called Zap, Silly Sentences. So I hope that we have some kids on tonight who are going to play along while we do that. But I want to kind of talk first about what our big idea for the night is, and this is the big idea. When I talk to you, would it make any sense for me to talk if there was nobody listening to me? No, probably not. To communicate between me and you, one of us has to be talking and one of us has to be listening. The two go hand in hand. Remember when we talked about how words are like, or letters are like Legos that we put together and create millions of different creations by rearranging those blocks, those letters in different forms to create new words, and words make new sentences? Well, reading and writing and talking and speaking or listening go together like Legos as well. So when I'm talking, I have to have somebody listening. And by that same rule, if I'm reading, somebody had to write what I was reading. And if I write, it's for someone else to read. So reading is kind of like listening because we're getting a message, okay? When we're listening, we're hearing words from someone. And when we're reading, we're looking at words that someone wrote. And writing is kind of like speaking. It's a way for me to communicate an idea. So when I'm listening to someone talk, that they're giving me a message. That's what I'm also doing when I'm reading a book. Somebody wrote those words to communicate to me, and I am reading them. And that's kind of like listening when someone speaks. So tonight's game is going to be really to talk about how reading and writing go together, just like a couple of Lego blocks stick together. And so the first thing I want to remind you guys is how important it is for you to be reading all the time. And parents, I love going to used bookstores because books are expensive. I was looking up some of these. I don't know if some of you might remember these from when you were a kid. The Best Nest and A Fish Out of Water and maybe Are You My Mother? That's the one a lot of us are familiar with. These are a set called I Can Read It All by Myself beginner books. These are examples of books that are great for helping your child not only enjoy hearing you read to them, but also building their confidence with reading to you. And that's awesome if you can carve out some time to read together where you have some shared reading. Maybe you read a little bit, they read a little bit. And I know books are so expensive. I have grandkids, and so I was getting online to buy some of these books for my grandkids. And I was like, sticker shock, gonna have to sell the house or something to afford them. But you don't have to, because the good thing is there's a library in just about every community that hopefully you can walk to, or sometimes you can even check things out online and pick them up, drive and pick them up. Or you can go to used bookstores. That's one of my favorite things to do, or even hop on eBay. I just ordered a whole set of these for like $10 of different books, for like 20 books for like $10 off of eBay, because there's a lot of these books floating around. If you're unsure what kind of book is right for your child to read in terms of being at the right level, then you might want to ask your teacher to let you know what kind of books would be good for your child to read with you in terms of them trying to read to you. Any level is fine for you to read to them, but you might need some guidance from your teacher on what would be good choices of books or what level to ask for at the library for your child to read. But a good quick test is if your child's in the library or the bookmobile or in a used bookstore with you, and they pull out a book and they say they really want to read it, let them look at a page and have them hold 5 fingers up. And every time they come to a word that they're not sure that they know, they can just put 1 finger down. And if they put all 5 of them down, that's probably too hard a book for them to read by themselves, but it might be an awesome book for you to read together. So I just want to point out an activity that you can do when you're reading together. Last week, if you were on with Rush Rogers last week, she was talking about really encouraging your kids to be kind of fascinated by words and curious about words, and to look at not knowing a word not as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn something new and exciting. So when you are reading a book together, like The Best Nest, you can take turns reading. And if they come across a word that they don't know, you can help them figure it out by making the letter sounds and helping them decode that word, like we talked about the last couple weeks. And then write that word on one of your index cards that came in your packet. So this one is bird, okay? So Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy he had to sing. Maybe your child needs a little help with the word sing or the word song. Help them with that, guide them through it, and then write that word on one of your index cards. And as you go through the book, you might even point out words that you think are interesting or that maybe you had trouble with when you were little, and you can write those on your cards as well. That's where the game comes in. So this is called ZAP, silly sentences. And you can use words too that your child brings home on their spelling list or on their reading list. That would be another way to get words on your cards. But when you've got a nice stack of index cards with words on it, what I want you to do is make 5 or 10 cards that say ZAP and mix those in with your other word cards that you've created. Okay, and then you just put them all in a nice little stack. And however many people are playing, so you guys can play along at home if you want, you can play with me, okay? So this is how we're gonna do it. I've got my stack of cards. My turn, I'm gonna pull one up, I'm gonna look at it, and I'm gonna read it, and it says bird. So if I can read that word, I put it in my stack over here, okay? But if I didn't know that word, you would get a turn at it, and if you could read it, you'd put it in your stack. Got it so far? Okay, so I'm gonna put bird in my stack. The next person gets to go. So this is your word. Let's see if you can figure it out. I wonder if any of you know what that word is. So let's say you can read it and you see that it says mother, then that would go in your stack. I pull the next card and I say, mistake. I read it. It goes in my pile. You pick one. Whoops. And your word says sweater. And you put it down. Now, we keep going back and forth like that. So my next turn is house. I put it in my stack. Your next turn is singing. You put it in your stack. My next turn is egg. I put it in my stack. The next card I draw says zap. And when you draw a zap card, what that means is you have to take all of your cards that you've earned so far and you have to write them in a sentence. Okay. And sometimes they come out really silly because your words, you have to find a way to make them all fit into a sentence. So my words are egg, house, mistake, and bird. So I will show you what I'm going to do. This is my sentence that I'm going to make. Now, if you're not that great a writer yet and it takes too long for you to write, maybe that's something you're still working on at school. Maybe you can just tell your sentence and your mom or dad can write it down. But if you like the challenge, like I do, I'm going to write my words in a sentence. Hold on, and I'll see if you can read it. It's a long one. Sometimes our sentences are really short if we get the zap after a couple words, but sometimes they get really long and silly, and that's what makes this game kind of fun. So I found a way to use all of my words. My sentence says, a bird flew into my house and laid an egg by mistake. I found a way to use all of my words, and that shows that not only can I read those words, I can write with those words as well. And so if I got all of my words, and I did, I got bird, house, egg, and mistake, I get 4 points because I used all 4 of my words. And then I can draw a picture to illustrate it. So earlier I was playing this game with a friend, and my sentence was, my foot got stuck in the chimney and it took forever to get it out. So I had to draw a picture showing my foot getting stuck in the chimney and it took forever. So I drew a clock and I drew a calendar to show that it was taking forever to get my foot out of the chimney. So that is how you can use your one use for your primary journal that you got. And you'll need your index cards, and you'll need a marker, and you'll need some really good books that you can get words from, or you can take your words from your spelling list or from your reading list. And I promised we would keep it to 10 minutes. So I'm going to open it for questions and answers. The nice thing is you can kind of make it easier or harder depending on what words you want to work on. So you can let your kids create cards throughout the week of words that they come across in their reading. It doesn't all have to be out of the same book. It doesn't have to be their reading book from school. It could be a book that on the shelf in their room. And so once you get some silly sentences, you could either take a picture or send one of those pages into your child's teacher so that they see that you've been playing the game and working on how reading and writing go hand in hand, just like listening and talking. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, so far, Lisa, we do not have any questions in the chat.
Okay, well, that's good because that means I made it clear, but I will write down the directions for you, and Kim will post those right next to the video where you can find them after tonight's live event.
Okay, again, I do not see any. So
Okay.
Lisa, thank you so much. That does wrap up this event tonight. If you play the games, take a picture and email them to your child's teacher or building principal, and your picture will be added to the intro video. Please complete the short survey after we close the event to provide feedback for future events. Thank you again for joining us. and have a great evening. And we hope you will join us next Tuesday at 7 to learn another literacy activity with Lisa. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye, everyone.